November so far has seen some pretty mild temperatures, but as the cold weather starts to approach, when's the best time to think about blanketing your horses? OSU Extension equine specialist Dr. Kris Hiney gets us up to speed.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kris Hiney, OSU's equine extension specialist, and we're going to talk a little bit today about blanketing as we move into the colder weather. So one of the questions that horse owners often have is, should they put a blanket on their horse or not? Well, and as always, in extension, we're going to say it depends. Certainly, if you have a horse that doesn't have very much of a hair coat, so he's kind of moved in from warmer conditions, or you've held him under lights, those horses are going to need blankets with the colder weather. However, if you've let them grow a full, thick, fluffy hair coat, a lot of the times Mother Nature has done everything we need to actually blanket those horses, and blanketing them ourselves can actually kind of keep the horse maybe a little colder if they get wet, kind of block their or dampen down their hair coat, or remove all that air layer in there. So let's talk about conditions where we may think that blanketing is especially warranted. If your horse is older or thin, immunocompromised, any of those horses that maybe just aren't as robust, blanketing can actually help them out quite a bit. And so those are horses I would consider for blanketing. Again, if your horse has a short hair coat, those are horses that will probably need blanketing. And then how cold it actually is. So if it's only dropping down to 40 degrees, horses are going to be just fine. We want to make sure they're protected when it's really cold and windy, because that can be harder on the horses, or if it's wet. However, if you provide shelter from the wind, shelter from rain, again, with a normal hair coat, these horses are going to do quite well. So it isn't necessary to blanket all horses in the winter. However, some people may ask, do the horses actually want to wear a blanket? And there is actually some fun research where they did ask horses whether or not they want to have blankets. Turns out if it's kind of cold, damp, and rainy, they actually appreciated the blankets. But if it was a sunny day where they could feel the sun on their hair coat, horses chose to just go kind of Mother Nature. So again, we really want to think about, is the conditions actually warranted? So sometimes leaving a blanket on can actually be harmful. We know that Oklahoma temperatures go up and down quite dramatically during the day. And so if it was chilly at night, but you leave the blanket on during the daytime and it ends up being warm, they can sweat quite a bit under those blankets. So in that case, it's better off leaving them not on. Also, if blankets don't fit well, you can actually cause some rubbing on the horse and can cause sores. And if they're in disrepair, if we're having a leg strap break or a hole, horses can actually get themselves pretty tangled up in blankets that are kind of falling apart or in disrepair. So you have to always check fit, check the condition the blanket is in before you walk away and leave the horse blanketed for the day. You do need to choose a blanket size that fits for your horse, and there are some measuring guides that you can actually measure the horse beforehand before you go and buy a blanket. But essentially, if you're running your hand up under that blanket on their shoulder or up over their withers, and there's pinching or kind of tightness on your hand, that's going to again kind of rub on the horse and cause some problems. Certainly if it's too loose, that it's hanging back off the horse or it's not going to fit snug, blankets with belly bands, if that horse can get their leg up under there, that can essentially kind of cause quite a bit of trouble. So a lot of the blanket manufacturers have excellent fitting guides. I would encourage everyone to measure your horse first and then check the blanket fit after it's on. For more information about blanketing and winter horse care, visit the SunUp website for more information.